10 to 2, and we're gonna have, it's called the Mobile Career Center bus. It's gonna be stationed there. We basically wanna be able to assist people in the community that are looking for jobs, and we're going to try to prepare them, because we're gonna have a big job fair that is gonna be in September, and we're gonna have about 50 employees that are gonna come out, and we're going to be interviewing folks in the community. This has already happened throughout the city in Ward 5, and it has been very successful. About 80 people out of 140 that showed up were hired, so we want to encourage you to also be a part of that. We're definitely going to be having it on the listserv, and if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me. My phone number is 202-538-0313. I'm sorry, my voice is giving out. And my email, which is one of the best ways, because I'm always running in and out of meetings, is Frank, F-R-A-N-K, period, Maduro, M-A-D-U-R-O, @dc.gov. Really happy to be here. Thank you so much.
What time did the walkthrough begin?
The walkthrough is going to be at 3:30 in the afternoon. And we're going to be meeting out in Shaw, right outside here.
Outside the library?
Yes, yes, ma'am, the Shaw Library.
I want to thank the mayor's office. Frank, since Mayor Bowser's been in office, Frank has attended every single one of our ANC meetings and has been available to this community, and I think that's a wonderful representation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have any other announcements? Where's Naomi tonight? Charles Allen's office is not here. Are you from? Do you have an announcement?
I have a question.
Okay.
Is there any plan to open O Street that was built between, right by Dunbar High School?
I do not know that.
That's been open, it's been built for a year, but they just won't open it.
It wasn't, I tweeted, someone tweeted me and then emailed, I emailed DDOT. So the previous reason was that the track had to be finished first for Dunbar High School. The track had to be finished first, and then they were gonna open O Street. The track is finished. We do not have public use of the track yet. I've been in contact with the assistant principal, but O Street still is not open, and I do not know the reason. So I emailed, I tweeted them and I emailed DDOT, and I don't have a response back.
Yeah, I
So
thought
shall I have
what,
information on?
Oh, you?
I've been emailing with someone in Mr. Sofer's office, and
Oh, great.
the latest explanation she got is that they're waiting for the signage to arrive.
Oh.
The track hours and stuff like that, and then once they get the signs, the track will be open.
Was it you who emailed me the other day? No.
No.
Okay. I got like 2 emails about that. Okay.
We will follow through though to make sure, so join us again September the 1st, and perhaps we'll have a better answer for you. Okay, the last major item on our agenda this evening is the ABRA application for Dasha Beer Garden. I'm going to put some rules out there so that everybody is on the same page. We have a representative here from ABRA who will be able to answer any questions that are related to ABRA, and her name is Sarah Flashbow. And Sarah, if you kind of wave around, there you go. Welcome. She's going to assist with any questions that are, or issues that come up that she can give an ABRA response to. So she's here to help us out. And we're asking every community member who wishes to speak to limit your statement to 2 minutes. We are timing you. At the end of 2 minutes, you will be asked to stop speaking. There are a lot of people here, and if we can, we want to make sure we hear from pretty much everybody. The library does close at 9, so we're allowing a lot of time for this issue. So I just want to make sure that everybody knows the rules and kind of sticks with us. We are going to speak civilly to each other. We are not going to get into a fighting or a screaming match. If that happens, this meeting will be adjourned and there will be no action taken. You can't do that? Well, okay, then we'll take action and then we'll adjourn the meeting, but we will stop any other community comments. So please be advised that this is going to be, I know it's going to be long, and there's a lot of people who have something to say, and we want to try and get everybody their chance. Is there a representative here from Dasha?
I'm Marge.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. We have a visual.
Okay.
Which wall would you present?
I guess
That wall?
that wall. Thanks, Nina.
Sorry. You will. Sorry, I'm going to.
When you come up or when you come to the microphone to speak, we will be asking you to please give us your name and your address so that we can keep an accurate record of who has something to say. And we will really appreciate if you would give your name slowly so that the note taker can actually get your name and so your name and your comments will be put into the minutes. Okay, Nina?
Hi, so, sorry, we have a lot of stuff that we're passing out real fast. I have a side announcement. We're having an adoption event at Dacha on Sunday, so if anybody's looking for a dog, please, or cat, please come.
What's your name?
My name's Nina, and I am one of the general managers at Dacha.
Your last name, Nina?
Liggett, Liggett. I have a card for the woman taking notes. Okay.
And I'm Scott Rome with the Veritas Law Firm. We've been working with Dasha on this, working with the commissioners. Andrew Klein, who I've been working with as an attorney for the last over 11 years, has been doing most of the legwork on this. He wanted to be here tonight, but Andrew's in California with his family, has a long planned vacation, so couldn't make it tonight. But I think he's met with almost every one of you face to face, and will continue to do so.
Okay, well, that's sort of what it, I guess.
Can you pull the chair back a little bit?
Well, the cord is a little, that's about it. There we go.
And there'll be no hand hold.
Some songs, that's about it. We have a packet here. What we're passing out is just some responses to some general questions, so we can try and keep our presentation fairly short. Sorry. I know, it's going to be all over this. So what you guys see in front of us is a rendering that we did last year and is why we're here today. We're here to seek support from the ANZ and our community for significant change, or I guess
Substantial.
I think it's significant, with APRA, which will allow us to open a sit-down restaurant at 1602 Q Street. Which you can see, this is a rendering that we generated, as I said, last year, but it's not the final one. We need to move forward with this first step of this process, which is why we're here tonight, to actually go forward and get the right rendering and get the perfect fit for the neighborhood with your help. As of today, before we opened business at 1600 Q Street, which is the beer garden that is in place today, we signed a pretty lengthy agreement, which commissioners, you all have a kind of shortened list at the very end of your packet, which we included in that packet so that you can just see kind of each point that we are working off of. Along with that, there's a neighborhood report that has some issues that came up in the subcommittee meeting. We just wanted to respond to those directly. So, as I said, this is the first step of many, and if we're supported, we invite the ANC and all of our neighbors to help negotiate a new neighborhood agreement. So, I'm going to let Scott kind of talk about the technical stuff, and then I'll definitely be here to answer any questions that anybody will have.
I see we have quite a crowd, so I'll try to be pretty brief as well. As I think everyone knows what Dasha is and what it's brought to the 7th Street corridor, we think it's something positive for the community, and I think a lot of the community members that are here today are here to say the same thing. As part of the substantial change, we want to make it very clear that the closing times for the outdoor space are not going to change at all. It's going to continue to be 10:30 on weeknights and midnight on the weekends. And nothing that we're asking for to be supported on will change that in any way. The center of, I guess, the controversy and the reason why everyone seems to be here is because of the the increase in occupancy that was asked for, and that is part of this substantial change request. In addition to the change in the occupancy, the DASHA is asking for a conversion from a DT to a CT license, which remains a tavern either way. It just includes the ability to sell spirits as well, in addition to beer and wine, and also an entertainment endorsement for the inside space. For all the requests that we're making today, DASHA wants to make clear that it's not something that they're just, throwing together. This has been a long time in the process. They had an availability of the neighboring property, and they want to bring an inside space to add on to what they offer now in the beer garden. And along with that, they're asking for an increase in occupancy. This is something that wasn't envisioned when they first opened as a beer garden. They didn't expect the amount of public support that they'd get and the amount of crowds that they would get, and so they want to make a space that's capable for that to happen. So that's why we're asking for your support in including an increase in the occupancy change. It's also important to notice that a big point of contention will be regarding the noise and what noise will be generated from an increase in the occupancy. What we'd like to first stress is that there have been no prior noise violations from ABRA. And ABRA and its investigators have been to this property many, many times, and there have been other things that have been investigated, and in none of those instances has noise come up as even an allegation against DASHA. And with the increased occupancy, we don't think that's going to change either. And in fact, DASHA has worked with Martin Beam, who's one of the best sound engineers in the city, to implement a number of steps that will continue to keep that noise down and potentially even lower it, even as the outside and inside capacity is raised. And that will include the putting up of a new fence, the increasing of the fence that's there, a number of sound absorption materials that are going to be put into space. So that we believe and have tested that the noise level is low as it is now, and that's not going to improve. We don't believe that this expansion into the neighboring property to have an inside restaurant space will negatively impact the community at all. In fact, we think it'll make it significantly better for the neighborhood. And we just want to stress that DASHA serves a very diverse group at this location, and they want to continue to do that. And they're continuing to evolve, and that includes now taking on this indoor space. But we'll continue to keep an open dialogue with the neighborhood, with the commissioners and everyone else, and hope to have your support.
So I would just like to recap our Thursday meeting with our subcommittee that was discussing our issue. So on Thursday, myself and owner Ilya Alter sat down and we outlined each component of the ABRA application and asked the members of the subcommittee to support or not support it. And so I'm just going to run through those so you guys kind of get a picture. On the issue of changing from beer and wine, so this is going from the DT to a beer, wine, and liquor, which would be for the indoor restaurant, which is the CT license, the subcommittee voiced support. On the issue of allowing indoor entertainment, the subcommittee voiced support, and Commissioner Padro said he would send along a type of entertainment that is already pre-approved by the ANC. On the issue of occupancy in the building, as you see here, which is a really big building, and for some of you who have been inside, it's not yet built, but it has a lot of space, and we're actually trying to move it back a little bit more to help mitigate noise right here. So it's a fairly large 3-story unit that'll be. So for the issue of the occupancy of that indoor building, the subcommittee voiced support. So the issue of increasing capacity in the beer garden from the currently approved number of 220 to a maximum of 350, this, as Scott said, is we had an extensive conversation about this. And I think that a lot was talked about and is a really good start to what we hope will be many more conversations after this meeting. But we could not find an understanding on Thursday. So to recap, the subcommittee supported a majority of the application, yet the resolution that they will be presenting today is actually in protest. And as you heard in many of the other projects that were just presented on, the very words support versus protest are what we are here today. We're not here trying to take the ANC or the neighborhood out of this process. We're here to just simply work on that word. We would really enjoy it if everybody here would support our process and our application rather than protesting us. And I'm sure we'll go over those components and the details of those that protest later. But, so yeah, that's basically what we're going for, is a more progressive, positive approach rather than a negative one.
Sarah, question for you. In our settlement agreement, it is stated that they have a capacity of 126,
Actually,
100 seated, and I think,
it doesn't say, it says 100 seated. It doesn't say anything regarding occupancy load.
so what does that mean?
So that means they can have 100 seats plus whatever their occupancy load is.
Okay, and,
They just can't have more than 100 seats.
correct, okay. And Scott, can you tell me what the C of O says? How many, or the license?
461.
The license says presently you can have 461.
No,
Is that correct?
it says 126.
126.
That's what they're
That is
approved
the
for.
C of O.
Okay, so they legally can have 126 patrons.
According to Abra, they did submit a C of O that was approved and submitted to us in April
Mhm.
that said 461, but they are not approved yet to operate at a capacity of 461. They're currently at 126.
Okay, so it's not 220, 220 plays no part in any of this discussion, is that correct?
I believe that the license as approved calls for 190 capacity on the summer garden.
That has not been, that license has not been issued. It's issued for 126.
Okay, so we're all on the same page. I don't want to get, 220, 461, all these numbers don't mean anything if the license is saying 126 presently.
Correct.
Okay. My second question to all of you, and Scott, this may be something you will address. There are 9 incident reports against Dasha right now. Those 9, one is for serving a minor, which is a one-time thing. I don't think that's a major thing. But the other 8 are for overloading by hundreds capacity. Even if we considered your application, how in the world are we going to have any control, since you don't obey what you are allowed to have now? How can we assume that you're going to stick within the limits that you are able to have if we increase it? I mean, we know that the property has to have a C of O, and whatever that is whatever it's going to be. So although you're asking for 600, if the C of O for the building actually comes back and says 96, then that's all you can put in that building, correct?
Well, we're not going to go against whatever the C of O says. That's certainly not their plan. So if the DCRA comes down with a smaller number, then they're going to stick to that smaller number. What we're asking for your support on is moving to that larger number now for capacity. And we feel that the previous allegations against them, which are going to be heard before ABRA, before the ABC board, they'll raise their defenses to that as they see fit. But going forward, none of those had to do with noise. And so-
I'm not saying they did. They were, where you have a capacity of 126, at one of them there were almost 300, and then there was another one that had 400 and something. If we say, we are going to support you with 600, how do we know that tomorrow night you're not going to have 600 in that space?
Well, there's a lot of numbers going around, and there was confusion about what they were approved for and what they weren't, what's in the license and what's in the C of O. What we're telling you is they're going to be responsible members of the community. They're going to play out, whatever punishment comes down on them for what they did before is what happened before. But that's not what's at issue here today. What's at issue here today is whether they should get approval going forward for that new occupancy and for the other things that they're requesting. And they believe that because even with whatever's been alleged against them in the past occupancy load didn't rise to the level of any noise violations, they don't think it will in the future. So whatever penance they have to pay, if it comes down that way on those past items, they'll pay on those. But for going forward, if it's not going to be a detriment to the community to have their occupancy at the levels that they're requesting now, then we don't see why a previous violation of an old occupancy level should reflect on that.
Wow. Um, Sarah, can you give us any more details on capacity and what they're allowed and not allowed, and where this is in terms of, you know, a bunch of them are or have already been sent? And can the other question I personally have is, can we or should we wait until we get the result of the outcome of these incidents and whatever before we increase it by 200, 300, 400? Can you address that for me?
Okay, first of all, I'm Sarah Fashbaugh. I left some business cards on the back, so if anybody needs to get in contact with me, please feel free to grab one of those. I can't unfortunately give you advice on how you should move
No,
forward.
I'm not
with
asking.
Maine.
I just, can you give us a little more on how the process of the incidents and what happens? And
Right. So, 6 cases now have hearing dates for the occupancy load. 6 of them, they have status hearings on the 9th of September. And then they have show cause hearings on either the 7th of October or the 14th of October. So 3 of them have it on the 7th, and 3 of them have it on the 14th. You can reach out to me and I can give you specific information about each one. I have public case reports for each one that I'm happy to share. So again, please grab my business card and I can send anything your way that's public. So you're asking kind of how this works. Essentially, there will be a status hearing, and if the licensee and the OAG or the Office of the Attorney General decides to enter into what's called an offer in compromise, that kind of ends the case there. If not, then they go to the show cause hearing, and they have to basically make a case for why they shouldn't receive a fine or why they didn't violate district laws and regulations. So, did you have specific questions about the process?
no, not particularly. Is it a possibility that ABRA could revoke their license?
Sure, I can't speak as to what the board will decide to do. Enforcement proceedings, I can't speak to that, but it is a possibility. Our civil penalty schedule is on our website. Again, I'm happy to send that your way as well. But it kind of goes over what primary tier violations are versus secondary tier violations and how we have to somewhat kind of follow a schedule for penalties. The board does have discretion, but we do have some limitations to that, and that's outlined in our civil penalty schedule.
Which you sent us.
Yes.
So the members of the board got that by email.
Now, if you were considering whether or not this affects your protest, the petition deadline is on August 3rd. So because the status hearing isn't until September, that's something you want to consider.
You mentioned that 3 have status hearings and 3 have show cause hearings?
All 6 have status hearings and all 6 have show cause hearings. 3 of them are on one date, 3 of them are another. Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us whether the violations were tier 1 or tier 2?
Yeah, they're primary tier violations.
Tier 1.
So they're all tier 1. All 9 are tier 1,
Violation.
except for 1.
Yeah, substantial changes in operation without board approvals is primary tier violation.
Okay.
All right, questions from commissioners before I let community make statements, or do you want to wait and hear something, facts from them? Okay. I'm going to ask those people who wish to speak to come around and file down this side of the room, because there is a mic here and you will be able to be heard by everyone. So, Sarah, there's a seat right over here, dear.
Thank you.
So if you want to make a statement, or you are in favor or against the application in front of us, you will get that opportunity right now to come down to the mic, and you will be timed 2 minutes.
Where's the mic?
Right
Right on the ground there.
It's on the floor.
It's hiding.
Okay. Please state your name and your address.
My name is Ibrahim Mukman, and I live at 631 Q Street Northwest.
I'm just trying to get my brain around the, the status of what happened. And I believe we have some people on the commission who were party to negotiating the original agreement with Dasha. And I'm just trying to find, have they kept their word or not kept their word? And this confusion about, what the number is, is 126, 220, or whatever,
Their capacity is 126.
Okay, so have
Period.
they exceeded 126?
On 8 occasions.
Okay.
At least that we have had a call go into Abra and Abra having to come out and investigate.
Okay. Their capacity was 126, and on multiple times they exceeded the capacity.
Correct.
Thank you.
Next.
Everybody, my name is Brian Peters. I live at 1609 8th Street. When you look towards Dacha from the street and you look at the homes behind Dacha, one of those windows is my daughter's window. She's 19 months old. Her name is Adeline. I also have a son, Bobby. And in her room and in his room, you can hear Dacha. 4 nights a week, it's loud and it's pervasive. You can hear him drop kegs. You can hear people scream when somebody chugs a boot or whatever. You can hear people singing happy birthday. You can hear chanting. It's very loud and it's pervasive. And we're actually 4 or 5 homes up. For the people who are immediately next door, just 10 feet away, there's a 3-year-old boy living in that home. There are people all on Q Street who have that sound pervasive in their homes. We actually sat across this room 2 years ago and negotiated parts of the agreement with Alex and the Dacha owners. And I guess I got to say, Rochelle Magro was right, because when we came in here after that, we had an agreement. It was at the last second. And Rochelle said, I'm not for this. I think it's going to get out of hand. And in a lot of ways, I think we should have listened to her. That being said, we welcome development in the neighborhood, and we welcome Dacha. And since then, we have worked with them. Many of us have actually written to HPRB. Some of us have gone down and testified in support of their older plans for the site, because that was a critical part of the agreement, was that they were going to build on that empty lot. And that was important because we wanted something that befitted the neighborhood. We actually wanted construction there. It would also have helped put the outside noise and the patrons closer to the 7th Street commercial corridor and away from the residential homes.
Brian, 30 seconds.
I'm not sure the distinction over noise versus capacity, but it's my understanding that when Abra comes, they can't enforce noise violations on people talking outside. It's a free speech issue. And so, unfortunately, the only thing that we neighbors who live immediately behind them, who are immediately affected, have is a capacity restraint. And there's no precedent anywhere else in the neighborhood for any more than 126. No outdoor capacity exists anywhere near Dacha that's anywhere near that high, certainly in such close proximity to people's homes and families. And so I would just ask this commission, please protest this application. It's the only way that the ABC board has any chance of understanding the situation on the ground and balancing it out. If you don't, they can just go straight through and get 600 approved, and there's no way to control whether it's inside or outside.
Okay.
So we need your support on a protest. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yes.
I just wanted to let the community know that groups of 5 or more can also file protests with us. If you have specific questions on how to do that, you're certainly welcome to reach out to me, but essentially we just need signatures, addresses, and legibly written names, along with an appropriateness standard that includes peace, order, and quiet, residential parking, vehicular safety, real property values, proximity to schools, recreation centers, libraries, and the effect on clientele, over concentration in the neighborhood. But basically, you're going to explain why you're protesting, and so as long as a group of 5 or more protest, that's fine. You can file that with us. Yes.
Can you explain how people can also contact you in support of Dacha and other establishments in the neighborhood?
Absolutely. You can write a letter and you can email it to me, and I can make sure that it's reviewed by the board by putting it in the file.
Can I just say?
Those people who have sent letters to me, I will be forwarding those to Sarah. So if you sent a letter in support or to protest via my email, I will be forwarding all of those to Sarah at Abra. So.
I'm sorry, I don't know if you want us to wait till the end or.
At this point, I think yes, unless it's,
Can I just say something specifically? And I do appreciate Mr. Peters and everything he's done with the CSNA, and we have opened up some pretty good dialogue with them. But I do want to just say a brief statement from our managers that take decibel readings every night at our most busiest times, 9 and 11 o'clock at night. And our manager, Frank, wrote this statement, which you guys have in your packet. We measure decibels at 9 and 11 p.m. every night. The overwhelming majority of sound in the alley behind Dacha comes from Uptown, which is a restaurant just down 4 doors down, which is located directly behind Mr. Peters' house, and which is also open until 3 to 4 a.m., while Dacha closes at 12 a.m. at the latest. Uptown plays loud music via amplified speakers, often leaves the second floor door open, allowing loud music to spill into the alley directly behind these houses. From another resident also.
hang on, I want to hear from your residents.
I think Elfrida had a question.
Alfreda?
No, she was just.
Oh, okay. Ma'am, we're timing you 2 minutes.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jackie Hart. I live at 1548 8th Street, Northwest. I purchased my home in 1988. And at that time, there was drugs on either corner. I was part of the neighborhood commissions, and the organizations in the community to uplift the community. So I want to preface what I have to say about Dacha, that we're not opposed to the business. We are opposed to the fact that, we all have to live here and that there should be some sort of balance. We think that balance is uneven at this point in time. Living where I do, I can hear Dacha during the day, during the evening, and it doesn't make it right. But I've had one neighbor to say, well, there were people peeing, on bushes in the street, prior to that. But it doesn't make it right, to have people to go to these establishments and then come out very drunk and utilizing people's properties to go to bathrooms. I'm very much opposed to that. I taught entrepreneurship for years. I think they are savvy business people, and